Hello there. I'm here to show you a wonderful place.
Hey, Walton, great to be chatting with you this morning. How's your day been so far?
It's fantastic, actually. Thank you very much for asking. Yeah, no,
No,
lovely conversations and all the rest. You're not a 007 fan, are you?
no, not at
No,
all. No.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, no. Got a big knack for Bond. It's kind of my go-to franchise, if you
Yeah,
will.
I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I will give you this little anecdote.
Sure.
I said this story on I think it was Seth Meyers a few years ago.
Yeah,
I had a there was an article. I was Googling myself, as actors do, as we all
sure.
do,
Yeah.
regardless of if you're a millennial or you're a Gen X or whatever it is that you are. And I came across this article that said Walton Goggins, the next 007 question mark. And I read the heading and I'm like, are you holy shit, people have been watching what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Is this real? And
Yeah.
I know Daniel. I knew Daniel again back in the day was when he was thinking about stepping off that train. And
Yeah.
I clicked on the article, the link, and the article was 10 things that will never happen this year. And at the top of it was Walton Goggins will never be asked to play 007. It was
Oh
very
my
funny.
gosh, that's actually
Anyway,
hilarious. No. That's very funny. I hadn't seen that, so that's good to hear. Hey, but you know what? You'd make a great Felix Leiter. So there's that, right? You could
there you
play
go.
the American version. I'm sure you've been getting this a lot, but I'm a massive fan of the show. I thought what you guys did with Fallout as an adaptation was it was really unlike any other video game adaptation that I had watched prior, and I think you were a big part of that. I mean, the three of you were, but your character was so fascinating. And I kind of want to start with just like the art of adaptation, if you will. What kind of makes something like this work, and what holds a lot of adaptations back, usually coming from like a visual baseline, whether it's the comics, video games, or whatever. I have a feeling like I feel like they tend to be a bit too slavish to the material because they're a bit overly reverent. And what the showrunners, everyone involved in the show did with this show was they understood that like the best way forward was to treat it with respect as you would any other adaptation. And so I'm kind of just curious for you, someone who's been involved in many adaptations, whether it's based on a comic book, video game, or otherwise, what you feel the keys are to a successful adaptation and where a lot of adaptations perhaps go wrong.
Well, I have such a hard time when I say critiquing or using the words go wrong.
Yeah.
I think for anything, in any discipline, we're all standing on the shoulders of the pioneers that attempted to tell these stories before, or
Mhm.
again, like really making a knife. Like you think the first person who made a knife, what did that look like?
Yeah.
Really? What was the handle like for real?
Yeah.
People have learned over the course. They've been doing it for what, I don't know, 20 years now.
Sure.
They've been going, and people have gotten things right, and people have gotten things wrong, but they didn't know until they tried. And I think in this particular moment, after The Last of Us, and after I did Tomb Raider. I think it
Oh,
was
I know. Yeah.
with Alicia Vikander, and I thought it was an incredible adaptation. I thought it
Oh,
was
it's great.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
this in particular, it had a number of things really going for it. First and foremost, the property by
Mhm.
Bethesda, Fallout Games. It is so deeply beloved by so many people all over the world, and so the fan base was there for that.
Mhm.
And then the opportunity to expand upon the fan base was also something that we wanted. Definitely wanted that to happen. But you also had, baked into the DNA of this particular experience, the satirical kind of element to it.
Mhm.
Comedy is kind of a part of the Fallout universe, and has been for a long time. And all of that coincides with a moment that we're all living in, where this is a possibility, like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
forgot for so long. And
Yeah.
shows about the ending of the world and apocalypse have they're cyclical, aren't they? Just like
Yeah.
everything else, and they've been around for a long time. But this is, in some ways, the perfect moment for a story like this to kind of come out, and done or executed with comedy. It makes it easier to kind of talk about the world in which we're living in.
Yeah.
This show pulls no political punches, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it has a lot of that going for it. But what does it take to create a successful adaptation? Yeah, God, I don't know. I maybe getting out from under the responsibility of making an adaptation.
Mm, mm,
I don't think that I adapted anything. I don't think that
yeah.
I made a show about a video game. I believe that the world ended and these people existed in the world. Cooper Howard was a real human being in the world, and his wife Barbara, and all the people that from Vault Tech,
Yeah.
and they shot it, insert studio here, Paramount, whichever one. These are real people that you could have seen in the time period that we explore and Fallout. I think that's the first thing,
Yeah.
and as wink, wink, uh, an irradiated kind of landscape with the people that were left on the surface to die. Um, the people that inhabit that, if that were to happen, my God, like, no, please,
Yeah.
ever. I
Yeah.
think we all can say that,
Yeah.
but people would still have a sense of humor.
Yeah. I mean, you
They
kind of
would,
have to. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and life would go on in whatever form life goes on,
Yeah.
and so again, at the end of the day, it's a great question. I don't know the answer.
Mm,
Last of Us, I think, did such a good job because they explored Pedro losing his daughter and
yeah.
another young person coming into his life, and it was the connection between those two people, and the care and the love in the face of madness, is what really kept people coming back for more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it kind of sounds based on what you're talking about and bringing up The Last of Us as well. It's finding that anchor of humanity, if you will, even in the most like absurd situations or whatnot. It's finding that one thing to kind of latch onto. I mean, obviously, there's that revelation towards the end of the season that the ghoul has been wandering the wasteland 200 years in search of his family and whatnot. But I'm kind of curious, like outside of a narrative a point, I guess, if you will. What was that anchor point for you for that allowed you to make a character like Cooper and the ghoul feel continuous? Because I mean that's kind of a, I mean, obviously you're shooting things differently, but it's not an easy task to do in finding that one like grounding point just from like a character perspective.
Again, thank you very much for that question. It's an intuitive and kind and curious question. Um, I really had to understand everything about Cooper Howard and his life in order to understand everything that the ghoul lost. And so for me, it was about not giving lip service or like a backstory
Yeah.
to this person, but really, really believing it in my mind. Where did Cooper come from? And in my mind, he came from Middle America. I know the exact place, but I don't want to say it here.
Hmm.
And it didn't come to Hollywood to be an actor. The West was calling, like it did for me, and he just happened to be really good with a horse. And somebody saw him ride and said, "Hey, man, you should get into this stunt business. It pays pretty good money, and it's pretty steady work out here." And before you know it, he's just an affable guy. People just like him.
Yeah.
He's got a laid back kind of easy way about him, and a great sense of humor. And director and actor didn't show up one day, and a director just asked him to say a few lines, and he did. And it turns out he was good at it. So that's something he was seeking.
Yeah.
It's something that found him. And before you know it, all of his stunt buddies were giving him shit because he had a trailer with his name on it. and it is that same kind of sense of humor, that same effortless charisma, that swagger without intending to have swagger, and practicality. You know, that middle of America meat and potatoes. I'm
Sure.
gonna go to work every day and I'm gonna survive.
Yeah.
These are things that I felt okay. It's still the same person, and that is a bridge between these two experiences. But one is not colored by trauma, and the other is covered all over lotion,
Yeah.
trauma
Yeah.
lotion,
Yeah. For real.
and but there's still, there's still that side of him, and it was very important and intentional to have them speak to each other over time. So thank you very
Yeah.
much for pointing that out.
No, no, for it was one of my favorite aspects of the show, honestly.
Ain't much stays clean up here, Volty. Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
I don't know. I think there's something interesting about those two characters, and specifically the idea that maybe the darkness that is the Ghoul was within Cooper the entire time, but just maybe it wasn't towards the surface. I was just kind of curious. Do you feel like the Ghoul was able to come into existence because there was a bit of a darkness in there, or was it purely a traumatic thing? Because I mean, everyone experiences trauma in some capacity, but not everyone goes to the lengths that like the Ghoul does, for instance, in killing people and being a bounty hunter.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. No, I don't believe that's who Cooper Howard was. I don't believe he had that level of anger. I think he had a great
Mm,
childhood, and a great marriage, and a child that he loved madly. And then bombs were dropped and the world changed in that moment. And all of a
yeah,
sudden, throughout humanity, people faced with a traumatic episode or a traumatic event. I mean, my God, the people in, World War II, all of a
right.
sudden you find yourself doing things that you would never do. And I tried to make that as specific as possible, in the sense that, okay, well, what was day one like? Or was it day seven when he woke up?
Mm,
What was that like? And, where was his child? Did his child survive? Did it not survive? I don't know the answer to that question.
yeah, yeah,
I have it for me, but I don't officially know it. And what was it like looking for food? What was it like seeing bodies,
yeah, yeah,
burning alive? What was it like the, having the first person that tried to kill him for food? Uh, what was it like the first time he had to kill someone? What were those very specific kind of formidable, embryonic, post-apocalyptic experiences? How did they inform him, right?
yeah,
And then you
yeah.
compile that. I mean, 200 years, you could say 500 years, you say 1,000 years, you could say
Sure.
5 years. I mean, what does it matter? It's just a number, isn't it?
Yeah,
And but it fundamentally changed him. And how did he change the most? I guess he just became numb, you know?
yeah,
God, that's fucking tragic, man, for
yeah,
for anyone, an empathetic human being, to lose that, sense of humanity,
sure.
and just become, doesn't see anything.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, yeah, I don't believe that that's who Cooper Howard was. I believe that that was a reaction to um, what happened to
yeah.
to him.
Look out at this wasteland. Looks like chaos, but there's always somebody behind the wheel.
There's one very, very quick question that I wanted to ask you, and I'm not sure if you're even aware of this, but there has been a bit of this vice principal's gif that's been making the rounds. It's your reaction on acid, the scene where I guess you guys did acid and you see the guy as a demon and you make the most inexplicably sassy. I don't even know how to describe it other than a word that I probably can't say on camera right now. But I just thought it was interesting because that GIF, that meme, led to so many people discovering Vice principles for the first time. And I'm just kind of curious for you. Obviously that shows behind you, but what are your thoughts on like a meme like that being a gateway to discovering an actor's work? I mean, that's got to be kind of crazy, right?
It's just, what a blessing, really.
Yeah.
A lot of people watched it when it came out, and we had a lot of people talking about it kind of back then, and to have this new generation kind of participate in this experience that means so much to me and so much to Danny is what a cherry on top, really, and
Yeah.
unexpected kind of like consequence of all of this. And I'm, obviously Danny is one of my best friends, and I'm back doing the Righteous Gemstones right now
Yeah.
as of a week ago. And
Dang.
and maybe the same thing will happen with Baby Billy in 10 years. I
Yeah,
don't
there we
know.
go.
Even though a lot of people are watching the Righteous Gemstones now, but it's just such a joy. And I
Yeah.
again, it was one of those things where it's a comedy,
Yeah.
but is it? I mean, really, it's about two deeply insecure, dysfunctional people who just desperately need to be validated by attention from somebody else, and they
Yeah.
ultimately get it from each other. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And
No, for sure.
yeah, so I just think it's so cool, man.
Yeah. No, it's
So in
awesome.
your
Yeah.
show with that meme, in your
Yes.
show with that meme.
Oh, absolutely. I have to. It's so good. It's such just an indescribable reaction to an absurd moment. I love it. It's amazing. But listen, Walton, thank you so much for your time, for your answers. I loved this show. I'm a big fan of your work, and I really wish you all the best during the award season and future seasons for the show. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the conversation and for taking the time, my man.
Of course.
Hopefully we'll have another one soon.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you, Griffin.
Yeah. Take care.